This is the Rallye de France, a high-speed ride around the roads of the Mediterranean island of Corsica. And this is where the Loeb versus Gronholm battle for the World Rally Championship resumed. Loeb was the winner on Corsican tarmac in both of the last 2 years, but it was Gronholm on what is his least favourite rally of the year who took the early lead on day one. And Loeb was also being beaten by his teammate Danny Sordo on the first morning. He was only down by a few seconds, but he was admitting that he was driving at his maximum.
I tried as hard as possible. Cannot do better, so alright.
Most of these stages are new to the crews, and once Loeb got onto the afternoon repeats, he started his fight back. On stage 4, he got ahead of Sordo and was now 3 seconds behind Gronholm. And here he is nearing the end of the following stage. The time he had to beat to take the lead, 9 minutes 12.2 seconds. He did it by just 1/10. On the final stage of the day, Loeb increased his advantage to 4.8 seconds, but again he had to give it everything to get there.
It's not my driving style to take a lot of risks, but I'm driving as fast as possible.
So Gronholm can start today knowing that Loeb is under pressure, and this rally is one that punishes any little mistakes, as Gronholm's teammate Mika Hirvonen discovered. There are plenty of little roadside obstacles that will remove wheels if you get the wrong line. So no Hirvonen on the leaderboard at the start of day 2. Sordo is 13.7 seconds behind Gronholm, while Francois Duval, Petter Solberg and Jari-Matti Latvala in 4th, 5th and 6th are separated by less than 9 seconds. Corsica also marked the debut of the Suzuki SX4 in the WRC, the first of 2 events they're using to try out the car before they join the championship full-time in 2008. Nicola Bernardi has been as high as 12th before his day was ended with engine problems, but the Suzuki will be back today under the restart rules. The island of Corsica is just to the north of Sardinia, where the Rally d'Italia took place back in May. But the Corsican tarmac is a very different proposition to the gravel of Sardinia. 6 stages today, totalling just under 123 kilometres. And first up this morning, we have the 22-kilometre Carbuccia test. Straight back to that battle for supremacy at the front of the field. Marcus Gronholm is the first of the 2 rivals to start day 2. The Finn was amazingly quick yesterday, but he'll have to decide if it's worth risking second place to attempt to catch Loeb, who is historically the dominant force on tarmac. Champion begins stage 7 with a lead of just 4.8 seconds. So despite his confidence on this surface, he's having to maintain incredible speeds to keep the Ford driver behind. The fight at the front, though, is not the only battle on the leaderboard today. Jari-Matti Latvala has started the second morning with just 3.3 seconds to make up to claim Petter Solberg's 5th place. The Finn looking to repeat his point-scoring finish on the tarmac in Spain last weekend. Here is the man in 5th now. Solberg claimed his solitary tarmac win in Corsica 4 years ago, so knows how to tackle these treacherous mountain roads. A good example of how changeable the tarmac can be through here, and combine that with that low-lying sun making visibility very limited. You can see what a challenge the Tour de Course is. Petter fights back in stage 7, beating Latvala by 5.1 seconds.
Right left into 6 right arm long, 50, slippy, 6 left long.
So a strong start from the former world champion, which could also put some pressure on Francois Duval, who starts today 5.3 seconds ahead. The Belgian doesn't have the best of records on the Tour de Course, only finishing the events once in 6 attempts. So he's hoping to improve on that and at the same time remind the rally world what he's capable of as the teams begin to secure their driver lineups for next season. That time is Duval's target. He needs to better that to hold on to 4th place, and he's going to smash Petter's time here. He easily maintains his position and is now 17.2 seconds ahead overall.
Francois, you said yesterday that this was the day where you could push a lot more suited to you. That's a fantastic time.
Yes, my time is not so bad. I pushed a little bit more today. The road is more sympathetic for me, more twisty and more slippery. It's quite better for me.
The drivers further back spreading out a little then. Danny Sordo, meanwhile, had begun to slip adrift of the leading pair on the final stage of day 1. The Spaniard powering his C4 through the village of Tavera here, but despite his spectacular display, he's actually a couple of seconds slower than that time set by Duval. The pressure from behind continues to ease then for Marcus Gronholm. But the question this morning is, can the Finn produce a performance that can destabilise the rally leader? He proved more than a match for Loeb for much of day 1. Let's see if he can produce the goods again. Here comes his time compared to Sordo. He's 3.5 seconds quicker, so the Finn is the man to beat so far, but how does he think he'll compare to Sebastian Loeb?
I am driving without splits today, so I have no idea. Is that good or bad?
Just doing my job, and I cannot do anything more.
No distractions because no splits.
Exactly.
Your choice? Flat out?
Sorry.
Is that your choice?
Yes, my choice. Timo's. Because he doesn't like when I look at the splits.
So flat out, maximum?
It's maximum. I cannot do better.
Well, that is an interesting tactic. Gronholm has opted not to monitor Loeb's split times to prevent distraction. You can guarantee that the Frenchman will be paying attention to the Finn's times. And using Virtual Spectator, we can check on his progress so far. Well, after 9.3 kilometers, Marcus was actually up by 9/10 of a second. And moving on to the 17.2 marker, though, Seb has fought back. He was 6/10 ahead there. Has he maintained that advantage to the end of the stage? Yes, 2.7 seconds better. It looks like he gave it a little bit extra through that final sector. No positional changes on the leaderboard in that stage. Chris Atkinson and Chelly Ponce complete the top 8. But have we seen a significant move from Loeb there? More rally action from Corsica coming up after the break. Welcome back to Corsica for day 2 of the Rallye de France, where Sebastian Loeb is the leader. Coming up next, the 26.5 kilometers of the Calca-Toggio stage. Chevy Ponce is renowned as a tarmac expert, but the Spaniard had an extremely frustrating home rally a few days ago. He's played it safe so far here in Corsica. You've seen how tough this rally can be on tyres, but corners also take a toll on the brakes. This camera mounted inside the wheel arch shows the brake disc is glowing red hot. And Chevy is currently in 8th place. One place ahead is Chris Atkinson. The Australian went the wrong way with his setup change yesterday afternoon, but after more tweaks in service last night, he's hoping for a more confident performance today. He sets the 6th fastest time on stage 8. The third Subaru driver in the top 8, Petter Solberg, is involved in a battle for 5th with Jari-Matti Latvala. He's had the beating of the Finns so far this morning, but looks a little more ragged here and seems to be struggling for grip. He sets a time 3.4 seconds slower than Atkinson. Petter suffering from tyre wear then, but that may not be his only problem.
I had a problem for the last 10 kilometers, maybe more also. No front grip, you know, just on this here. So that's how it is.
Solberg struggling a bit then. Latvala though has fared a lot better and manages to pass the Norwegian to claim 5th by a margin of 1.9 seconds. Latvala's impressive tarmac education continues then, while one man who needs no instruction on this surface is Francois Duval. The Belgian looking secure in 4th place now with Solberg dropping back. Very smooth around that hairpin corner and quickly back on the power. Another man who knows a thing or two about driving on tarmac despite his young years is Danny Sordo. He's been unable to repeat his heroics from Spain so far and get ahead of championship leader Marcus Grönholm, but he's still 3rd and beats Duval's time by 2.3 seconds. So Ford's number 1 has so far managed to see off the threat of Sordo and Duval, but despite his strong start yesterday, getting back ahead of Loeb has proved a challenge too far this morning. Grönholm not quite as tidy round the same hairpin that Duval just passed through. He may be one of the WRC's best, already a 2-time world champion, but he still has a little to learn on sealed surfaces. Despite his more agricultural technique though, it's still effective. Grönholm's quicker than both Duval and Sordo again. Another good time from the championship leader then. The Finn is still preferring the maximum attack approach rather than attempting to match Loeb's splits, but the Frenchman has still managed to keep his rival at arm's length. Not by much, but once again he's quicker. This time another 3.8 seconds are pulled out on Marcus.
Sebastian, it's a great morning for you, now leading by 11.3.
Yeah, that's good. It was very difficult for the tire. We had really to drive very carefully from the half of the stage to the end because the tire was too hot and it was impossible to keep the car straight. So I tried really to drive in a good rhythm, but smoothly for the tire, and it was good.
And Loeb pulled further ahead on stage 9. His lead over Grönholm now 12.6 seconds. No changes in the top 8, but Solberg did come back at Latvala. The gap between them now just 1.3 seconds. Next, it's service. A quick wash and brush up for Grönholm, who's fully aware of what he's up against today.
It looks a little bit difficult to catch now, but I will try. I go my speed and we will see. Anyway, I'm not easing off because he have to push as well.
In hindsight, would it have been better to drive to splits this morning?
No, I couldn't have gone faster with splits anyway. No, it's people think that we are just looking at the splits. It's not true. When you go at the maximum, it's no, you cannot do so much there. There it's just you have to drive your own rally.
Sebastian, was that the decisive move this morning?
I hope, but at the moment nothing is done. It's only 12 seconds at the middle of the rally nearly, so Marcus is really fast. I have to push really hard to do this time, so we will see. I think at the moment everything is still possible.
We know you've got this new evolution of the tyre, and Danny didn't like it yesterday afternoon. Are you worried about it for this afternoon?
No, it will be good.
On to the afternoon loop of stages now, and it's all beginning to fall into place for the world champion. As mentioned in service, Citroën have selected a new evolution of the BF Goodrich tyre for this rally. It's a variation on their hardest compound available, and it's Loeb's only option in the warm conditions this afternoon. Loeb was unconcerned at service, but Sordo used the new tyres yesterday afternoon and wasn't too comfortable on them, and Ford have chosen not to bring them at all. It remains to be seen how he'll get on with them on stage 10. Back to that fight for fifth now though between Petter Solberg and this man who currently holds the position, Jari-Matti Latvala. Petter had the upper hand in this fight on the previous stage, closing the gap between them to 1.3 seconds. So Latvala will look to fight back here. Very, very tight and twisty section through parts of this stage.
You're 5 or so seconds up on the split, so it's going to be a little bit more easier from now on.
We will see. I know Petter will be pushing very hard, but okay, I try to keep the cool down and not mistakes, and we will see.
Jari-Matti sounding reasonably happy then. Solberg is attacking the latter part of the stage. It's an interesting battle developing here between one of the sport's young stars and a former world champion in the shape of Subaru's number one.
Minus 6 right bus, 50, 2 left guidance.
Well, Petter needed to beat that target time to get past the Finn, but he's already slower. Latvala stretches his advantage to 7.8 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's one Finn making progress in the top 8, but will we see his compatriot Gronholm make any inroads into Loeb's lead this afternoon? He's clearly still giving his all here on stage 10, but so far today even the double world champion's best hasn't been quite enough.
Marcus, you're obviously still not going with the splits for the afternoon. The last split we have is 3.6 slower you are.
Yeah, what can I do? I don't know. I can't go much faster. Small mistakes, driving mistake, but that's it.
So there you have it, Gronholm doing all he can, but Loeb, remember, on the unknown quantity of those new hard tyres, so there is the possibility that he could lose some time here. He's into the final kilometre of the stage now. There's Gronholm's time. Can Loeb beat him again? Yes, another 4.4 seconds gained. Loeb's confidence on those tyres looks well founded. Danny Sordo was quickest in that stage, but he's still over 30 seconds behind Gronholm, who sounded like he's conceding victory to Loeb. But the Frenchman still has another 2 stages to get through before the end of the day. And they are coming up after the break. Before we see the last 2 stages of this second day of Corsica's Rallye de France, we'll look at what's been happening outside the top 8. Jan Kopecky finished 10th in Corsica last year. The man in the Skoda Fabia is currently in a comfortable 9th. Henning Solberg is 10th at the moment. He's currently 6th in the Drivers' Championship, but as it stands, he won't be adding to his points tally this weekend.
Hold høyre til turn kort, 2 venstre, 50, 5 venstre pluss halva.
Henning has had to fight for that 10th place though. Manfred Stoll took it away from him on the first stage of the day, but then lost it on the following test and has since slipped back.
60, rechts 4 minus, in links 4.
Andreas Mikkelsen in a privately entered Ford Focus is in 12th. A steady performance from the Norwegian, who's just 18 years of age. Another young driver putting in a steady performance is Britain's Matthew Wilson. He's 13th.
10. Flat right 2 long, tightens 30. Left 1 minus over bridge.
Nicola Bernardi in the brand new Suzuki SX4 meanwhile has restarted today after engine problems on leg 1. But once again mechanical gremlins force his retirement at the refuel after stage 10, so more work to do for the Japanese team. But some of those drivers you've just seen could be moving up a position as we move on to the final pair of stages, as Manfred Stoll is in trouble. The Austrian was running in 11th, but here in the penultimate stage of the day he's got fuel pressure problems and it's costing him a lot of time. He loses nearly 13 minutes and falls down to 25th. Stoll's OMV teammate Francois Duval is beginning to look rather lonely in 4th place, with Danny Sordo nearly 45 seconds ahead and Latvala half a minute behind. There's little pressure on the Belgian. But there are late problems here for Francois too on stage 11. He's got gear shift problems and this could be costly, with Latvala lurking behind. And the Finn has barely put a foot wrong today. Jari Matti can seemingly do no wrong at the moment in what has been his breakthrough season in the WRC. He closes to just 13.7 seconds behind Duval by the end of stage 11. On to the final test of the day, and the Belgians' problems are persisting. With the paddle shift broken, each gear change takes slightly longer, and on such twisty roads with constant shifting, this is even more time-consuming. Francois holds on to 4th, but by the end of stage 12, Latvala is just 2.4 seconds behind. Danny Sordo changed his differential settings in the midday service, and it's clearly had the desired effect, having already claimed his first stage win of the day on stage 10. The Spaniard clears the final 2 tests with few dramas, but he's running out of kilometres to mount a last-ditch bid for the runner-up spot. It's not all smooth sailing for the man in 2nd though. It's been reported that Marcus Gronholm is very slightly down on power and has a problem with his paddle shift. At the moment there's been little effect on his times, but it will no doubt be preying on his mind as he completes day 2. No such problems for the rally leader. Sebastian Loeb and co-driver Daniel Elena have again proved an unstoppable force on the 2nd day of a tarmac rally. They've won all but 1 stage today and are now in prime position for a 3rd consecutive Rally de France victory. But there is more Tour de Course frustration for Francois Duval. Electrical failure on the way back to final service has forced his withdrawal from the rally. A big disappointment, but he has again proved his ability to the rally world. So with Duval out, that moves Jan Kopecky into the top 8 now, while Latvala, Petter Solberg, Chris Atkinson and Chevy Ponce all move up a place. And another driver not completely happy as he returns to the service park at the end of the day is 2nd place Marcus Gronholm. That engine problem is causing some concern for the team.
Marcus, a few problems on that last stage.
Yeah, but it was not a big drama, but we lost few seconds, but luckily it was there.
What were the problems?
I couldn't shift any more the gears from the steering. There is some small problem now.
I've seen the guys looking under the engine. Is there an engine issue as well?
Maybe.
Do we need to be worried about tomorrow, basically?
No, I think it will be okay in the service.
The problem was with an electronic gearbox sensor, but a few tweaks at service and the Ford team report that all is well. But no such worries for Sebastian Loeb.
If you were to sum up your whole day, how was it?
For me, the whole day was really good. We were pushing really hard from this morning to this evening in all the stages, trying to take some time to Marcus and to increase the lead. So now it's much better with 27 seconds, something like this. It's looking good for tomorrow.
Join us tomorrow to see if Loeb can make it 3 successive wins in Corsica. In the meantime, you can get all the latest news at WRC.com.